Welcome to the Thriving Soulpreneur podcast. This is a space where we talk about human design, spirituality, and neuroscience, all applied to business and money. My purpose is to help struggling solopreneurs to run sustainable businesses, to become financially resilient, and to create powerful change within their communities and beyond. I am your host, Andrea Niño de Guzman, a numbers girl and neuro geek who left the corporate world to do what she does best, to catalyze transformations. I am thrilled and honored to have you here, and I really hope to serve you in the best way possible. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are live. It's always great to have you here. Welcome to this new episode of the Thriving Soulpreneur podcast. As you know, I am Andrea, and I am so grateful that you are here joining me today. So let's get to it. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about collaboration, like I mentioned last time, and collaborative leadership. And why do I think this is important? Because for the longest time, I sense that this is where we're headed towards as a collective, as in business, especially in, I think where it's going to start in the personal development industry. And I think it's going to change the way that we do many things. And how am I going to share this with you? I'm going to piggyback on the energies that are being highlighted this week, or that where the sun is transiting, which is gate 7. Gate 7 in quantum human design is known as the gate of collaboration. And if you want to find it, where is it? It's located in your G center. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry. I'm not going to go into the technicalities of human design and what that means. So don't stress about it. If you don't know, and if you're curious to know, then reach out and I can share a little bit more about what human design is and what it is that I'm talking about. But with that said, everything that I'm going to share moving forward, it's just going to apply. For me, it's just like the general energies, the general aspects that we need to start discussing about how we are showing up in our business. Okay. So with collaborative leadership, the essence of this energy and the essence of this gate 7 is about moving from the I into the we. It's all about the we. It's not about the I. And how that looks like is focusing on how you can impact others, focusing on how you can be of service. It's moving away from this notion of what's in it for me, which I feel has been the old way of leading others, or maybe even the old way of doing business, where there's so much competition, where in many cases there's only one winner, only the top get recognized, and everybody else they kind of get forgotten. And when you embrace all this energy about competition and hierarchy and moving forward at all costs, you're just being driven by an agenda, right? And it doesn't matter how you impact others. It doesn't matter the consequences of your actions, because you're just so driven to reach a goal, to reach an endpoint, no matter the cost. Whereas when we talk about collaboration, that kind of it's no longer that important, but rather what's important, it's about how do we influence? How do we change? How do we create change? How do we go from point A to point B, but in a more holistic way, in a more integrative way, right? And I'm going to talk about how I see this energy. And actually, I was going to save that up for the end, but why not talk about it right now? And forgive me, okay? Because I'm going to go out into the woo. We're going to talk about energy. We're going to talk about the quantum world. We're going to talk about quantum creativity. So just keep that in mind, okay? But when I talk about collaborative leadership, I'm not just talking about, hey, let's create an agreement, let's create an alliance and do something together. I'm talking about joining energetic forces, like joining forces on a whole different level and creating from a quantum space, right? So how do I see this? This is, like I said, it's all about service-based focus, right? Where we're talking about doing things for the greatest good of all. When you show up in this energy, there's no personal agenda, right? There's no what's in it for me. There's no, you don't have any thoughts about what could I gain from this? There's no need, there's no desire for personal gain, because behind that, there's this full trust that everything is going to unfold perfectly as it should, and that you are going to receive as much as what you're going to give. So there is no need to put other people below you. There's no need to try to get ahead in order to try to get the greatest benefit. That just doesn't exist in quantum collaboration, because you're operating from the highest sense of being, where you're fully trusting, but you're also fully trusting yourself. So as you honor yourself, as you see and recognize yourself, as you value yourself, you're also able to honor the other. So that's why there's no judgment, there's no fear, there's no doubt, there's no comparison, because you see the other with the same measure that you see yourself. You see each other as equal, you see each other not even as equal, you see each other as one. Okay? And there's no competition, there's no hierarchy. We're all together. We are all one. And we're operating directed from the heart. We're giving from the heart. We're not giving from the mind. So it's not a strategic role that you have to play. It's more about how you are divinely guided to give. And for what? The what is very different, because it's not about completing specific short-term goals. It goes way beyond money. It goes way beyond recognition or fame or reach or audience. It goes way beyond that into a bigger, more collective why of this is how we could create a bigger impact. And I feel that it's a different set definition. You know how they say the whole is better than the sum of the parts. Maybe I'm totally butchering the say, but it's the idea that if you just add each individual, what you create on a collective, on a whole, is so much more powerful than what each individual would come into play, would bring into play. It's basically that. It's so much bigger. So as you create collaboration, you create this expansive energy. So with quantum collaboration, there's expansive energy. There's a lot that, the ripple effect that we were talking about last week is way bigger. It's more expansive, and the impact that you have can reach way beyond what you can imagine. So that's why I think about this as, the scope is even bigger than just the big picture, and it's not just about reaching a milestone or fulfilling or working within a specific time frame, because maybe this goes beyond time. It's about impacting things on a whole different level, on a quantum level, right? And when we talk about collaboration at this state, in this way that I see it in quantum collaboration, I see it as collaborating on different levels, right? Because since there's no hierarchy, it's not that you no longer are the expert or the guide or the coach or the mentor or, the guru. You are at one with your clients. You're at one with your competition. You are at one with your team. And as you offer and as you serve, you are also always taking in, because other people are sharing from their genius, from their zone of genius. They're sharing from their own gifts. So there's this equal exchange of giving and receiving. And it's not this exchange of, I'm giving you my time for money, or I'm giving you money for your wisdom or for your insights, or, it's bigger than that. It's, I'm giving because I also want to learn from you. And I feel that's why it's so powerful when we see each other as one, when we see each other as equals. And when we see each other as equals, then that allows us that gives us a space for us to have, this energy of quantum collaboration, because there's no need to prove yourself. And this is something that I've mentioned it to a couple of coaches before. This is something that actually came up this week in a discussion that I had with one of my amazing clients. She's a therapist that I absolutely adore. And she just showed up and she was like, this is what I want to create. I know it doesn't make sense right now, but I see myself as creating this collective of other professionals so that we can all work together. And there is no competition. We're just operating from our zone of genius. And she's a manifester, right? So I was just so amazed that she caught on to that. And that's the business model that she's building, right? And that's how I envision it, of this whole new, different, revolutionary way of creating impact, of working with each other instead of working against each other. And I feel that in the coaching industry, and it doesn't matter if you're a coach, if you're a light worker, if you're a therapist, if you're a mentor, but in the professional development industry, where there is a lot of competition and a lot of comparison, more than competition. Yeah, there is competition, but more comparison of what's the other one doing? Where am I in relation to my peers? How much are they charging? How much am I charging? How much are they making? How much am I making or not? We're still in this dilemma of comparison mode, and that can trigger a lot of fear. So I feel that this type of energy, this quantum collaboration, this way of working can erase all of that bullshit, right? And help us serve the world, help us serve humanity from a whole different perspective. And it can help us serve the collective from our genius, from our zone of genius. It can help us serve the collective from our heart and not from our mind. And I'm not saying that the mind is bad, but the mind can, it can be filled with a lot of negative, painful beliefs, painful memories. There can be a lot of criticism, a lot of judgment, and that is what makes you go into the what's in it for me mode, right? Because it can be driven by lack, or it can be driven by fear. But when it's where you're serving from your heart, the way that I see it is that there is no room for that. There is no room for lack. There is no room for not enoughness, because you're offering you're offering and you're showing up from the full essence and from the full authentic self that you are, without any fear that you would be less than, because you're not, because you know fully deeply in your heart that you are worthy, that you are an equal, that you are one with whoever that you're interacting with. Anyway, okay. This totally came out of nowhere. I had like 5 bullet points of things that I wanted to talk to, and here I am like 12 minutes in, just, I guess, receiving this download of what quantum collaboration means. So take some notes, because I have no idea. I have no notes of this, of what I just shared. But anyway, I feel it was something that had to come up. So now that you know the potential of this essence of quantum collaboration, then let's talk about, where do we get ourselves stuck in the process? And that's how that goes back to where the phrase that I started of putting the we before the I, right? But in order for you to do that, so in order for us to get to that level, to that stage of quantum collaboration, where we're focusing on the greater good, where we're focusing on the whole, we need to strengthen our I, of how we see ourselves, right? When the I is too strong, like the me, the how I see myself, when I am imposing, right? When I'm leading, when I'm influencing from this energy of imposition, I'm not really creating a space for others to express themselves because my focus is on being right. My focus may be on being heard, on being recognized in some way, right? And because my focus is on me being first, I'm not creating that space for collaboration. I'm not creating that space so that others can show up in their fullest integrity. And I'm definitely not learning. I'm not even open to learning from others because I want to be the one that has the final word, or I want to be the one that is one that's recognized as a guru, as a leader, as whatever, right? So that's one way that we, kind of trip or, put ourselves in the way of not being able to reach this state of quantum collaboration. The other way where we put ourselves in the way is by not having a strong I. So when our I is not strong enough, we give away our power to others. We allow others to impose their beliefs, their method, their strategy, their way of doing business, their way of selling, their way of whatever. They impose that on us, and they sell it as if it were the only way, right? The only method. This is where the magic pills, come into play of either you do it my way or you're going to succeed. It's very driven by fear, right? And when you're not strong enough, you don't trust yourself. When your I is not strong enough, and when you're giving your power away, I feel that how I see it is you're giving it away because you don't fully trust yourself, because there's doubt. You're filled with doubt. Your mind, your focus is not in your genius. It's completely disconnected from your authentic self, your powerful self. It's filled with judgment. It's filled with self-doubt. It's filled with, fear of what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if they say this? What if I'm not able to meet expectations? And when we fill our thoughts and our mind with that, we don't listen to our heart, and we suddenly start playing small. And if you keep yourself small enough, then you end up hiding, right? And we don't want to be hiding. We want to be thriving. We want to go out and be that person and create that impact that we're designed to make in the world. So the first step to be able to reach the space of quantum collaboration is to balance your I, right? It's to balance how I show up. It's not about imposing, but it's not about giving your power away. It's not about hiding either, right? And I feel that as, we're starting a new month, we're going into August, I feel that the next few months are going to be, the theme of the next few months is going to be deeply focused on personal expansion. But not just personal expansion from self-awareness, but it's through the relationship that we have from others. It's the relationships that we have with our clients, with our partners, with our teams, with everyone, even with our children, even with the people that we dislike, with our haters. That, all the relationships that we have, that is what's going to help us expand. That is what's going to help us grow. I sense that the theme of the next, I would say 2, maybe 3 months is going to be expansion through relationships, right? And it's through those relationships that we gain that awareness of who we want to be, who we are, who we desire to be. And again, that takes us into how am I showing up in all of these in all of these relationships? Am I showing up am I hiding in these relationships? Am I not speaking up my truth? Am I not sharing my unique views? Am I relying on opinions of others rather than on my own? Am I not trusting my methods? Am I not trusting my intuition, but focusing on what others are telling me to do? Am I looking for that validation in order for me to feel safe to move forward? Or on the other end of the extreme, if we're imposing, am I looking to be recognized by others at all costs? Am I doing things so that I feel that others need me, so that they can see me? Am I being driven by that? And then am I holding on to things, maybe the way that I'm doing business, the way that I'm connecting, because I'm being fed or fueled by that external recognition, right? And when we have that awareness, then our balance comes from first accepting and recognizing ourselves, because that's our inner leadership. And as we're able to recognize ourselves, as we're able to accept ourselves, as we're able to bring that awareness into our shadows and accept our shadows and embrace them, and then unlock our gifts, we can also connect deeper with our strengths, with our genius. And as we connect deeper with our strengths and with our genius, then we're able to create that safe space for others to show up. Because when we're not connected with our inner eye, with our inner leadership, when we are being driven by fear, then we're stuck in this mental loop of thoughts, beliefs, opinions, and judgments that are driven or focused on our imperfection, on our failure, on our flaws, right? And that, again, triggers the comparison. It triggers the competitiveness, the wanting to impose, or maybe even the hiding. But when you are able to separate yourself from all that and recognize that, one, you're not your thoughts, you're not your beliefs, you're not your past memories. When you're able to see you in your essence and know that you're not your past mistakes, when you're able to see yourself in your essence, then you can recognize your power. You can recognize your genius. And that's when you create that safe space for others to show up in their power, to show up in their genius. And when that happens, when you are in your genius and you allow others to show up in that way, there is no room for competition, because there is no competition, because you are you and they are them. They are they. And there's no even room for a thought to see who's better, because you're just separate beings, but one at the same time, right? And when you're leading from that space, and the safe space that you're creating, you're allowing others to be seen, to be heard, to be understood, and you're allowing others. You're creating that energetic. I don't know if it's a void. It's an energetic space where you allow others to share their gifts, because you create this safe space of no judgment, of no opinions, no questioning, where there's no good or bad, there's no duality, no labeling, because everything just is. And that is when you begin co-creating with that person. That is when you start connecting and to this field of infinite possibilities, because you're connected with the highest frequency of possibility, of what if, because both of you are connected to your own sense of self-love and self-acceptance. And for me, that is how we reach that level, that next level of quantum collaboration. Okay? I don't know if you're dizzy with all this explanation, but think about it. Think about it. I really, really feel in my heart that this is where we're going next. I really feel that as we embrace and as we honor ourselves, as we connect to our true essence and begin showing up from our authentic selves, and we stop hiding, then we're able to, and we even, as we challenge the ways that traditional business is done, especially in the field of personal development, as we challenge that and as we begin to show up with our true gifts and show up and trust our vision of how we want things, how we are being intuitively guided to do things, and we start to trust that, then we're able to access this field of quantum collaboration. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Either, Andrea, you're totally crazy, or not, or yes, it totally resonates, or something in between. There's no good or bad. I just felt this need to put it out there, because this is something that I've been thinking about for a really, really long time. And I honestly don't know how to start this. I have my own issues. I'm not perfect. I'm not. I'm definitely working on my I. I tend to impose sometimes, and I also tend to hide in others. So I'm still working with my shadows. But I feel that if more of us could talk about this, could play with this idea, then maybe, we could all start playing with this field, with this potential, and then make it a reality. And how awesome would that be if you had this collective of thriving soulpreneurs, of people who are in their essence, who are, so connected with themselves, so in their, in their authenticity, so in their self-love and their empowerment, that they can show up and be of service and start operating and being focused on being of service for the collective, and start creating these amazing things by joining forces with others to create even a bigger impact for the whole. I think that would be so amazing, because I know that there are so many incredibly talented and gifted people who have these visions of change and who may be holding themselves back, or who want to go out, who want to be seen, who want to be heard, but they don't quite know how to put themselves, how to get there. And yeah, I feel that if we start playing, we start focusing, envisioning this new way of doing business, then everybody could benefit, and we could definitely create a change for the bigger whole, the bigger collective, for the humanity. And I think it could transcend not just this lifetime, but multiple times and whatnot. Anyway, okay, enough about that. I'm definitely going to listen to this episode, especially the first part, because I don't know what I exactly was shared, but I know that it was powerful because I felt it in my heart as I was sharing it. And yeah, anyway, love you all. Big hug, big kiss. I hope you have an amazing start next week, and keep me posted. Write to me, message me. You can find me on Instagram at ang.transformationcatalyst. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, what resonated, what didn't. And yeah, any questions that you might have. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.